What do you do when you just aren't getting traction and you feel like just everything isn't working? So a brand in our mentorship group who just joined asked me that question just this week. And I'm going to give you the same advice that I gave that brand. So context, this brand, they just joined our mentorship group. They had some traction. They were doing $30,000, $40,000 a month, but no matter what they do, they can't break through it. And it just seems like nothing's working anymore. Things were working 6 months ago or a year ago. So typically when a brand gets into that point, it's because they're just not seeing the whole picture and they're not seeing the full perspective. So here's the advice that I gave her. So one thing you have to understand is this particular brand, she was really frustrated. She was very frustrated because she felt like that, man, maybe this isn't for me. This is too hard. And so the first thing advice I gave her is like, well, kind of tough luck because this is what it takes to grow a brand. Not everything is going to be roses and sunshine and up and to the right and scaling to the moon. Sometimes you hit big plateaus that you have to solve for to blow past. So the first thing you have to understand, have perspective. You must have perspective that this is just a necessary pain you go through. Every brand on the planet has gone through similar pains. It just so happens some brands pains last longer, some last less. And there's many reasons why that happens. So the second thing you must understand is like, what do you think is stopping you from growing? So typically for e-commerce brands, it's the same fundamentals that stops a brand from growing. It's either one, the positioning. So the positioning in your marketing, that is one. Number two is it can also be potentially your economics of your brand. So for example, do you have good enough margins? Is your average order value high enough? For example, we have a brand we worked with for the last 12 months. They came to us and their average order value was like $22, which is just a nightmare. But we saw that people were willing to buy it. It's just the economics didn't make sense. So what we did was we changed up the product page, put some bundles in place, put some upsells in place, and now their AOV went from $22 to $55. That's a big jump, but now their business model makes sense now. So is it your margins? Is your economics? Because that is solvable. That could be raising prices, that could be bundling, focusing on different product. For example, a case study that we just published at my company was with a streetwear brand. They would reselling sneaker shoes like Air Jordans and Nikes and things like that. But the problem is, as a reseller, it's really low margins, like 10%, 15% at best. And you just can't run a business like that. And when they came to us, we told them that. So they launched their own line of fashion and apparel, which has 75% margins. Well, that you can make a successful business on the back of. So that's two examples of what I mean by, is it your economics breaking down? So you have positioning, is it the economics? And then the next one is, okay, now what about your creative? Okay, are you pushing the right product to the right marketplace, to the right total addressable market? Is there market fit for your product? For example, there is a brand that we worked with that while it was a good product, the total addressable market of their market was just really, really, really small because it was so niche. For example, it was air traffic controllers. There's literally only so many air traffic controllers in the country or in the world. So your TAM or total addressable market is just so small. That's an example. Where is it a market size problem? Do you need to make it more broad? I'm not saying that is the case in every scenario, but that's a consideration you need to think about. Now, your product, are you pushing the right product to people at the right time and with the right position? So for example, if you sell hoodies and you're trying to push that in the summer, it's not going to go well. But if you're trying to sell hoodies when it's cold outside, well, now the timing and the conditions are right. So if you don't have a timing problem, then it really is it a positioning problem? So for example, we have another brand that they just weren't demonstrating how their product is used and the problems that it solves. They were just showing the picture of the product and hoping people would understand what the heck this cream is and what it does. Humans, while we do understand a lot, sometimes we need things to be so blatantly obvious and clear. Just showing the picture of a face cream isn't going to do that. But if you demonstrate why you made that cream, the problems that it solves, what it does to your skin, and you show before and afters of what it does to your skin, now you're starting to help people understand what this product does to them. So, and that's just kind of bucketed under the marketing of your positioning. Another really great example is we had a lash brand. We have a lash brand we worked with the last 3 years. And this lash brand, over the last 3 years, the performance has been going down because their whole market has grown to be sophisticated. Everyone knows about the kind of lashes. There's many people selling the same kind of lashes. But once they launch a slightly different product with a different variation to it, sales took off again. Why? Because they took the same product in the same niche, but now they put a fresh spin on it. So a lot of times that is what is necessary to grow your brand. And then the last thing is there something on your product page, your checkout experience that's causing a massive bottleneck? For example, this brand that I started this whole video about, I told them to pull up their product page on their mobile device. I did the exact same thing. And I found 6 things that is a bottleneck. For example, it wasn't clear clear what the product actually does, how the product fits. All right. They also had pop-ups covering the add to cart on their product page, right? So it's a lot of friction that was created in the checkout process, which without a doubt is going to cause a problem. If you create too much friction and too much guesswork by people, you're going to lose them. That's why it's way better to keep things overly simple, overly clear, than try to be very verbose and try to look highly sophisticated. You're going to lose people about that. And then another thing that really holds brands back, and I'm a big believer and proponent of this, is you yourself aren't going out there and making content. I believe every founder should be front facing with their brand. I'm not saying you have to be front facing, but if you don't have content organically that's talking about your value proposition, showing the value proposition, demonstrating the value proposition, what's going to happen is it's going to feel like a scam to people, right? And so they're not even going to want to go to your website necessarily, because most people, when they see an ad, they go check out the profile. Like 1 out of 3 people go and check out the profile first before they go to the website. So what that means is like you should really care about your organic presence. And what I find personally is that the people who really put attention into their organic presence, they don't suffer from market positioning problems because they post so much content. They've already figured out how to position their product. They've already figured out how to communicate to the right people that are going to buy their product. And while I'm not saying organic is going to save your brand, some brands are crush organic, make millions just organic. But what it does is it gives you so much real practice positioning your product that you will start to see what works just based off sheer engagement of it. So that's why I'm a huge believer in it, because typically a lot of the brands, some of the brands I see in the mentorship group, is they haven't figured that out yet. They haven't figured out who are they, where do they sit in the marketplace. And until you figure that out, you're kind of always going to be floundering around, kind of drowning a bit until you figure that out and you crack that. Because part of positioning is what makes you different and special. Now, you can make something drastically different and special about your product. You can be drastically different and special about what you stand for as a company, or you can be drastically different and special based off of, frankly, just the attention that you can create around your brand or around your product. But at the end of the day, everything we do for our brands is about getting attention and making people want to take out their credit cards and buy from us. So you have to be thinking about these things. For example, there's a brand in our mentorship group that sells baby clothes. But what's special about your baby clothes? Is it the prints, where you source them? Is it the story around the prints and how you design them? Is it the actual fabric itself? Or do you get attention just because you're funny and you're a comedian and you tell stories about kids and babies? See, like what makes you different? So you have to think about those things. Most brands, they just start throwing some ads up, got some early traction, and then things kind of died. So you have to be thinking about what can I do and manufacture around what I do that makes it look different and stand out. So that was the advice that I gave that brand, that founder. That's what I'm working with them inside of our mentorship group. If you feel like you need someone to coach you along how to scale to the next level, we have 35 other brands inside of our mentorship group. Click the link in the description. Just watch the video, see if it's a fit for you. If it's not, no harm, no foul. But if you have any questions, put this in the comments and I'll see you in the next video.